Hello!
Hi.
Welcome to another Journey to 30, guys. Coming at you a little early because I gotta work in a little bit, so I'm gonna start just 5 minutes early. It's not a big deal because that could be the lemon.
He's a hard-working man. You can't stop him.
You can't stop me.
Can't stop. Won't stop.
So I need to change some stuff because I definitely didn't do that. This is not NA Battle Arena.
Oh, no.
Yeah, right? So, how about you go ahead and talk about what we talked about last week while I edit this?
Well, I would love to. Last week, we went over a couple things. First off, we went over items. Not so much what to buy, just, some more specifics about items, how they work, how you probably want to stick with recommended builds, differences between passives, unique passives, stuff like that, just to get you a little more comfortable with items, because as a newer player, they can be sort of daunting when you're in store looking at that big long list of stuff. And the second thing we talked about were game phases. Laning phase, or early game, and mid game, and late game. The difference is kind of when those things happen, what late game champions are, and we touched a bit on when you might want to make a move on Dragon and Baron. So yeah, if you missed last week and you have questions about those things, check that episode out.
Yep, check it out. So sorry, I was yawning and stretching. So yeah, that's a brief talk about what we did, and definitely feel free to go look at that. So we want to talk about this week's champ rotation real quick, per
Sure
usual. Do. Okay, so in this week's champ rotation, we have a Mumu, a Nivea, Braum, Caitlyn, Fiora. Let me scroll down. Renekton, Viger, Vayne, Vel'Koz, Zac. It looks like we got on the table. And first and foremost, we're going to say go ahead and play in a Mumu. He's awesome. He's fun.
Yep.
You can play him. I've seen him played in the top lane. Not nearly as effective as in the jungle, but as a jungle, he is really easy, super straightforward. Looks
Mumu's
like
great.
Caitlyn's free week. She's
Caitlyn!
really easy. She's a really easy AD carry to get your hands on.
Yes,
and
she is.
Get to know. And Renekton up in the top lane. Pretty standard, easy stuff there. Has a heal. Solid damage. Pretty tanky. And he's kind of flavor of the frickin' season right now, so...
Yeah, if you listen to the T-Force podcast, they have been riding that Renekton train for a long time. He's pretty much good against anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the free week champ rotation. I also really like Fiora. I think she's pretty easy and straightforward, so go ahead and try her. She's awesome.
And also I wanted to mention they list his difficulties being high, but I kind of like Vel'Koz a lot. He's got skill shots, and he's kind of slow, but he does so much damage if you can land your stuff. He does true damage. He's fun to play with.
Yeah, I like Vel'Koz too. I was actually just in the middle of an internal debate in T-Force about the problems Vel'Koz struggles with, and he's definitely he's hard to land that Q, so it's definitely going to take a lot of practice on that end. But I think he's a fun champ, and I really like his damage output.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to jump right into objectives. That's what we got on the board for today. We talked about that. We wanted to cover it last week. So we're talking about objectives, going over what an objective is, what makes an objective, ways to secure objectives, and how to secure them. So let's go ahead and talk about what exactly is an objective.
Well, the objective, your main objective is to win, obviously. But to accomplish that, there are smaller objectives, and they are the things that kind of exist outside the kills. They're the stuff you need to do, basically. I don't know how to exactly put that, but it's stuff like buffs, towers, Dragon and Baron, the big creeps, inhibitors. It's things you need to coordinate with your team to take to give your team an advantage and put the opposite team at a disadvantage.
Yeah, so what condones a objective is pretty much anything, like that. What you said, anything that gives you an objective. I'm sorry, that was my phone. Anything that gives you some sort of benefit over the other team, whether it be gold, whether it be a buff, or whether it just be, you know, a little bit of map pressure. So that's what an objective is. So real quick rundown of the objectives on the map. We have buffs. Those are your red buff and your blue buff, respectively, giving you a slow and bleed damage, while the blue buff gives you cooldown reduction and mana regen. Towers, which are exactly that. They're turrets and towers. Dragon, Baron, inhibitors, those things that spawn minions, and map control is considered an objective as well. So being able to control a bush and keeping your ward there and making sure no one takes that ward. Or
They remember wards?
Yeah, wards. Map control in and of itself is an objective. So acquiring a bush for your vision and not theirs is part of map control as well. So where I told you to put those pinks, having a pink down there, well, if you see someone drop a bush there, you know, that's your bush. You don't let them have that bush. That's your bush. So
that's nobody else's bush but yours.
Yeah, so you get that thing out of the way. So why, and we kind of touch on this, but why secure specific objectives?
Well, aside from just giving your team a general advantage, they can give you all sorts of advantages. I used advantage too many times in that sentence. Buffs, for example, they will give you personally. They will help advantage. I said it again. Towers, like we mentioned, map that gives you map control, which is another objective. It's objectives are super important. If you focus on kills to the exclusion of everything else, you're not going to win. God, my brain's not working today.
That's okay.
The team with the most kills does not win the game.
No.
That's not how it works. I mean, that helps for sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win.
Definitely. So taking an objective oftentimes leads to taking another objective. So when you secure an objective, say tower in the bot lane, and you get a couple kills down there, that can really set you up to taking dragon. And that's just one way where you can capitalize on securing one objective and then following through with another one. And a lot of times you'll see like the jungler being the most objective orientated player on the Rift is he's taken buffs and he's looking to get ganks, and then he's looking to push down towers, or he's looking to invade or anything like that. So when you're looking to try and take an objective, you want to see what can possibly benefit you the most and the risk reward factor in securing the objective, and this will lead you into how to secure said objective that you're looking at. So securing objectives. Buffs are pretty straightforward. You straight up kill it. They go down pretty easy. A little bit of help from a teammate possibly can get you it pretty quick. As a jungler, they're gonna.
And the thing is, like, when a jungler is a regular part of your game, once you've reached that level, the jungler is probably going to take the first few buffs. Well, he's definitely gonna, but at a point, it's normal for the jungler to give the blue buff to mid, because that's often an AP champion. If you're playing early, though, and you don't have a jungler, and you've got, for example, double tops, buffs are still something you want to take. You won't have that jungler there to help you, maybe, but you can perhaps get someone from top to come down and give you a hand. Buffs are super important to grab.
Yeah. And do note that he said, it's typically normal for a jungler to yield over his blue buff to the mid laner, or the red buff over to possibly the AD carry. If you play in those respective roles and the jungler decides to not give it to you, you need to understand that is his. He's allowed to do that. So
yes.
You want to put it into your mind immediately that you're not entitled to any buff.
Yep.
He chose jungle. He's choosing one of the most difficult roles in the game to play. He sets the pace. He is blamed if someone doesn't come to gank you. He's blamed if you fail a gank. He's blamed if you don't smite dragon at the right time. Jungler takes a lot of crap from a lot of people. So you taking a buff from him, taking a level, taking a experience and that gold is only going to set him back more, and it's going to get him angry, and you do not want your jungler to be angry. So there's no entitlement to buffs. When he wants to give it to you, he will give it to you,
especially if you are maybe not doing so hot in lane. It's a bad idea for your whole team for the jungler to give you a buff just to have you lose it because you get killed again. So you're better off just saying, you know what, he can take it. That's great. He's going to help all the lanes, whereas I'm probably going to die again. So yeah, just don't yell at your jungler. It's not cool.
Yeah, you don't, and there's no reason for him to give over blue buff if he thinks you're just going to die again and yield it to the enemy. Like, that's just kind of silly too. So
also, just quick note for new players: if you are playing a mid and you don't use AP, like Zed for example, while the cooldown's nice, you don't benefit as much from that buff. So just remember that if you're not a mana based champion.
Yeah, don't bother taking that. It does regen energy, I believe. So it still is pretty useful on, energy champions like Shen or Akali or Kennen or anything like that. But, just take note that energy regen is significant, and if someone else is in need of it, then, yield it to the person that needs the mana over the energy, because energy is like 10 a second rather than, mana regen, which is like 2 a second. So
yeah.
Pay note to that. So, because we're also talking about buffs and we're going to move into Dragon here, let's talk about Smite and why junglers should run Smite no matter what.
Don't try to run a smiteless jungle build. It's just a bad idea. Don't do it. Don't do it.
And there's a lot of reasons why. The extra damage is definitely one of the biggest reasons. You may be playing like Fiddlesticks jungle or Aatrox or something like that has a really easy, steady clear that just you don't feel like you need Smite. Well, that being said, you get into higher, you get into 30 and you get to that level play and you don't have Smite and you're looking to try and take Dragon, and all the enemy jungler has to do is walk up to Dragon, Smite, steal it, and walk away. Like, that is a serious disadvantage that you're putting on the team when you don't take Smite. Yeah. It is free damage, it's on a short cooldown, it allows you to clear significantly faster than you can ever prove. It will always help you clear faster, and that's always what you want as a jungler, is a fast clear so you can get to your lanes or get to an objective. So always, 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 always run Smite on jungle. Don't ever try and run it, or don't ever try and not run it.
Agreed.
So yeah, Smite with jungle is just as important wards are with every single champion. You have to be running Smite if you're jungling. So talking about the Dragon. We kind of touched on when we think you should take Dragon last episode, and we kind of touched on when you have an advantage over when you think is the right opportunity. But those coincide with each other pretty often. If you get a couple kills in the bot lane, or you get a kill in the bot lane, and you feel like the enemy jungler is nowhere near you, that's usually a good time to try and take the Dragon. But always make sure you
Ward it.
Ward it! Keep it warded.
Especially now that these jungle timers are probably coming to the Rift, which that's a whole other episode of whether that's a good idea or not. I personally don't think it is, but
I think it's a terrible idea.
If you've got, and just to be clear, that's coming from someone who's still not great with my timers. Like, I screw that up all the time. But anyway, that aside, if you have a ward there, even if nobody on your team is paying any attention to it, if the other team kills that dragon, boom, you'll have the timer, and until those timers are actually on the officially on the Rift, if you've got wards there, you can see when the dragon dies, and the dragon respawns. What is it? Every
6 minutes. 6
minutes.
Oh yeah, that's something we should touch up on. 5 minutes for buffs, 6 minutes for dragon, 7 minutes for Baron Nashor.
Yep, and you can time when you want your team to get back there and get to the dragon. And another point to that is, if you know when that dragon timer is, a good idea, if you can leave your lane safely, is to go back to base and buy any new items you need or regen your health, so that your team is fully ready to go, baited for bear, so that you can get there and take that dragon.
Yeah, because dragon is really important. It used to not be nearly as important because its gold that you granted didn't scale really well into the late game. But now, gold scales with depending on what minute you are at. So,
yep.
Dragon also levels every minute or so. It gains a level and it becomes a little bit more difficult. So, don't think that you can just fight the guy one-on-one, because that's not going to happen. You're going to die. He has a nasty debuff that lowers your attack speed by a significant amount. So if you're playing an attack speed champion it's gonna screw you up. And if you're playing an AP carry, you're just not gonna have the steady damage to be able to take it down. So it's always a group effort when you're going to look to try and take dragon.
Yep. And I just want to say that I meant loaded for bear. I don't know what baited for bear means. Maybe that's something I just made up, but I felt that was important to mention.
Yeah, it sounds awesome though. Baited for bear.
Baited for, it does sound good.
All right, so securing towers. This one's a little bit interesting and tricky. Sometimes you just don't even know you could kill a tower. Sometimes you're surprised at how much damage you're doing to it, and then other times you're just kind of like, well, crap. Best time to try and take a tower is when the enemy is no longer in the lane and you are unthreatened by the enemy jungler. So when you know you're unthreatened by the enemy jungler if you already know where his position is on the map. Either someone on your team called it out and said, oh, I'm in the top lane. Oh, jungle's in the bot lane, he was just checking dragon, and you saw him there. Well, that's usually a pretty good time to, if your lane partner is not there, to just go ahead and push the tower and do some damage to it. Securing a tower from full health to all the way to 0 is usually never going to happen unless you're playing like a few specific champions that have really good attack speed and some sort of like good turret killing ability. Like Ziggs can kill turrets pretty effectively. Master Yi can kill turrets pretty effectively. Lucian is pretty good at killing turrets. These are all champions that have something that grants them additional damage that is just really effective at killing turrets. So never look to try and outright take a turret.
Yeah. And there are reasons as you get a little higher level in play, you may not want to take a turret down. But when you're starting down early on, if you have the ability to, you want to put as much damage on that turret as you can. The sooner you can get that turret down, the sooner, like we said last week, the sooner you'll be able to roam. It provides your team a whole bunch of advantages. There's that word again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and taking a turret gives you map pressure. It allows you to ward up into their enemy jungle without fear of getting caught from somewhere. And it just kind of takes away a safe haven from the enemy team, which is also really nice. On top of the global gold that you get for everybody. So that's always good too. Do note that you gain a little bit of bonus gold if you are the one to last hit the tower. Not saying that you should always try and focus on last hitting the tower, get it down as fast as you can, but it's something to pay in mind.
Yep. And the thing is, when you're trading in lane, it doesn't, even if you only get a couple of shots on it, that still helps. If you can, push up a little bit, if your opponent goes back, even if you only get a couple auto attacks, every little bit helps because it lowers it for the next time you can get to that tower.
Yeah.
And on the inverse to that, don't focus so hard on the tower that you ignore everything else that's going on around you, because if you are unaware of where the jungler is or where your lane opponent is, or you decide, I'm just going to tank these turret shots to try and hit it as much as possible, you're going to die.
Don't do that either. On the flip side of that, when you're defending a turret, it's usually better for you to clear the minion wave than attacking the champion on the turret.
Yes, good point.
Because it allows the turret to switch aggro immediately to the enemy champion. On top of that, you kill the thing faster, which means that they're not going to have as much time attacking the turret. So if you're attacking them and the turret's attacking the minions, it's going to take a while for him to kill all those minions.
Yep.
So
we should probably mention real quick, just in case people are unaware, the turret will focus the minions first, unless the enemy champion attacks you. So
with an auto attack.
Yep. So that's why we say clear those minions out as fast as you can, because then it's definitely going to attack that other champion. And also, while we're mentioning that, if you're hitting the turret and your opponent runs up to you, you may not want to attack them, because as soon as you do, it's going to focus on you. So it's often safer to just run away than try and get some hits on him.
Yep, absolutely. All those are really good points. So when you should try and take a turret, usually a good time to try and take a turret is when the turret gets to about half health and you see an opportunity for your jungler to come in for a gank. Trying to take a turret alone usually isn't the most beneficial thing unless you're in the top lane, in which case, you're pretty much going to be by yourself for most of the time. When you hit level 30, the top lane is an island, and that's going to be, how it goes for the most part. You're just going to be up there by yourself, so you're going to be taking that turret by yourself. But if you're in the mid lane and the bot lane, taking a turret, you usually look, the first outer turrets, they're going to be about half health, and that's when you want your jungler to come down, get a gank. If they can kill one at least one, you can pretty much guaranteed to take down the turret because you have 3 people whacking at it.
Yep.
That's the jungler's role when it comes to ganking and turret taking. Is he's got to be there and make sure he helps out the team. So the next little bit we're going to talk about are 2 things in particular. It's inhibitors and Baron. Oftentimes you'll not know which one you should go for. And it's kind of confusing. You just aced them. You just took out their inner turret. You're working on their inhibitor turret. What do you think? Should you go for the inhibitor or should you go for the Baron? And this is a question you're going to ask yourself a lot, especially when you get to 30 and you see an opportunity. You're going to not know which one you should do.
Yeah, it's players. You see pro players screw this choice up. That Baron, those stats and the buffs you get are real attractive, but you can completely throw a game if you try to go for Baron at the wrong time. Whereas if you take an inhibitor down, you're setting yourself up to be in a pretty big advantage for a little while. I think inhibitors are, me personally, I think you should get those inhibitors, take those down. That's the best idea.
So general rule of thumb, when you're trying to decide which one you should take, like which objective to secure, you always need to look at which one you'll acquire faster, which one is less dangerous, and which one your team as a whole wants to go for. If one person is pinging Baron and they're on their way, while your other 3 teammates are looking to take down the inhibitor, who do you think you should back up? That one solo person that's likely going to go kill themselves at Baron, or the 3 people that are killing down the turret and about to work on the inhibitor?
Yeah.
As a rule of thumb, follow your team, because if they get into a pickle and you're not there to help them, then you just start to rage at each other because you're playing the blame game and you should have made a different call. Whereas you never know. What if you got into a team fight and you actually came out ahead because you're with your team and you're that extra person that they needed? So as a general rule of principle, 1, always look to see which one you're going to get the fastest. 2, look to see which one is the least dangerous. And 3, make sure you're with your team.
Yep.
It's a team objective. Like securing an inhibitor or securing a Baron should always be a team effort, never a solo effort. So if that one person goes off alone to go die to Baron, then that's his own accord. You're going to stick with your team and you're going to kill that inhibitor because you're going to get it down, and then you're going to back up. You're going to go heal, and then you can get prepped for a Baron fight.
Yep. And on that point, it's good to have someone making those calls. It can be kind of hard when you're just playing online with a bunch of random people, but you use your pings. If everyone's kind of new and people are still kind of feeling the game out, if you ping on that inhibitor tower, then it's more likely people are going to follow your lead and go after the objective that you're pointing out. So don't be afraid to, make some calls, and if you screw up some calls, whatever, you'll learn something. But It's better that way than having 2 people head to Baron, 3 people head for the tower, and everyone end up dying.
Yeah, and that's no good. That's not what you want. Like, as a team, you guys got to work together, and it's always going to be a team game. Not one person can end up carrying the entire game. So always make sure that you're working in tangent with each other rather than against each other, because that's not helpful at all. So yeah, that's the Baron versus inhibitor talk. We don't want to get too in depth to it because we don't want to confuse you guys. Just know as a general rule of thumb, take whatever is fastest and make sure you back up your team.
Yeah. And also, like we mentioned last week, don't try and take Baron with 2 people. Depending on the champions, that's possible, but Baron hits so hard, he's so strong. Ideally, you want everybody there to take him down quickly. Not only to take him down quickly, but also if the other team tries to make a play, then you have everyone there to back you up.
On top of that, you should always... I just was about to say something and I completely forgot. Always note death timers.
Yep.
You can just press tab and you can see when the enemy is going to respawn. So that's really important too when you're looking to try and take one of those objectives. Is okay, well, Lux is up in 10 seconds, but Dr. Mundo's not up for another 35. We could easily take this turret. Let's just keep going. Type of deal.
And also, back to when we were talking about smite, if their jungler is down, and yours is up, you've automatically got the advantage over the team because you have that smite.
Especially in a dragon or a baron fight.
Yep.
So when you're fighting in Dragon and Baron, if Baron and Dragon are still active and they're still attacking and they haven't reset meaning they go back to their normal positions and start healing up, back up their health. If they haven't reset, focus down that jungler first so you're not threatened by the smite, and your jungler can smite without fear of, miss-smiting or accidentally, smiting too early or what have you.
And ward it.
Ward it, yeah. I was just about to say we're going to talk about map control before we talk about what we're going to talk about next week, and then we're just going to call it because I got to get ready to go to work. Map control. And this is completely dependent on taking towers and warding.
Wards?
Wards. Map control is where you end up controlling an area. And if you think about the map and you think of 4 sectors, ignoring the no man's land river, you think of 4 sectors, you think of, on purple side and on blue side. Blue side is, the bottom side, while purple or red side is the top side. You have top side red jungle, which is the red buff, and you have top side, you have red side bottom jungle, which is like his blue buff close to dragon, and then you have blue top side, which is his blue buff, and blue bot side, which is red buff. If you think of those 4 sectors, and you take out, say, top side red turret, that has opened up for the blue team. That has opened up everything beyond the Baron pit up to is about his red buff to where you can feel semi-secure. And at that point, after you take a turret, you want to start warding that area to give yourself leverage and to see when people are going to be moving into another lane.
Yes.
So
you can kind of think of it as like the front line on a battlefield. As you take their turrets down and as you're warding, your front line is moving forward. And you want to keep pushing that forward until your front line is right outside the door to their base. That doesn't mean they can't push back, but if you've got their turrets down and, again, you're warded their jungles, so you've got vision over their jungle, you are taking control of their side of the map, and that's super important.
Yeah, it's quintessential to winning and gaining control of the map, because map control is still a very difficult thing to understand, but that being said, you work on it and you learn more and more about the game, and you learn how to gain control of these areas. And after you get control of the areas, you start to make your advantage into a serious disadvantage for the enemy team.
Yep.
So, that being said, for objectives, I don't really think I have anything else to say on that note. It was kind of a short one today, guys. I'm sorry, I do have work in about 30 minutes, so I got to get ready for that and head out.
I think we did it though.
Yeah,
we got it.
I think it was a good one. All right, so real quick, next week we're going to be talking about creep score.
So important.
So important, and I'm a little surprised that we put it off to this long, but we're finally getting to it. So stay tuned. Next Monday we're going to talk about creep score. We're going to talk about farming. We're going to talk about effective farming and what your farm should look at. Like what it should look to be at a certain allotted time, say 10 minutes, say 20 minutes, that sort of thing. So we're going to talk about the importance of gold and really creep score in particular, and why it is the most important and most effective way of gaining gold and keeping a lead.
Yep.
All right, so thanks guys. In about 30 minutes, T-Force Proper will be going live, so stay tuned for that. You got anything else?
No, man. I think that's it. I think advantage there. I said it one more time.
Yeah. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter @Asdrishan and
@Doc_Chicken.
Doc_Chicken. Always email us at battlearena@TrinityForcePodcast.com, and don't forget to check out www.TrinityForcePodcast.com. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Take it easy.